No, the soil. That's
Sure. You go right in front over here, please. Honey.
It's okay. Introducing? Sorry?
Introducing?
I don't know what you're saying. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Family and friends, there's plenty of room under the canopy. Just a gentle reminder, if anybody has a phone, please take a moment to turn on silent.
I'm right behind you.
On behalf of the family, I want to thank everybody for joining us here at the gravesite, as well as those who are joining us online. Officiating our service today is Rabbi Dvorin from Congregation B'nai Shalom.
Before we get started, I'm going to include this soil that was gathered in Eretz Yisrael at the base of the Mount of Olives in the gravesite. Many of you may already know the significance of this particular tradition. I'm going to include the soil in the cover in the grave, and then I owe you one explanation. With humor comes nechama, comes consolation. Yes, we hope so. Jewish tradition teaches that at a time of God's choosing, all people of all faiths, all denominations, if decided by Almighty God, if the merit system warrants that the people God judges are sufficiently good, will be merited, rewarded with a return to life, a world to come. We believe that the return to life will begin in the land of Israel, in Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, the undivided eternal capital of the Jews, and in Jerusalem at the Mount of Olives. We gather some soil from the place of that earliest return, as we then believe it will then spread all over Israel, all over the world, to everyone who deserves. But we have that hopefulness and the belief that all those who are worthy in the eyes of God will return to life in that world to come, whether it's physical like this, or spiritual, or souls, or something we can't even imagine. But it gives us the hope that we hold on to, that family members who are now separated will be together once again in what we hope and expect to have as a joyous family reunion and celebration. Thus, the soil as a symbol of that hopefulness that we include in the cover in the grave. I also want to mention, for those of you who are familiar with Jewish customs, Jewish law, there are some very subtle differences, and it's possible that not a single change will be noticed, but there are a number of changes we make in the order of the service because today is Rosh Chodesh. It is the part of a semi-holiday on the Jewish calendar, and there are some slight, subtle changes made to the funeral service. I'd like to begin this portion with 3 short excerpts from text. In each case, I'll begin with the Hebrew and follow it up with the English so it can be understood. First, from the book of Yeshayahu, from Isaiah. Kol omer kra v'amar ma'ekra kol abasar chatzir v'chol chasto ketzitz hasadeh yavesh chatzir navel tzitz ki ruach Adonai nashva bo achen chatzir ha'am yavesh chatzir navel tzitz ki udvar Eloheinu yakum leolam. A voice says, cry out, and I say, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades when the wind of the Lord blows upon it. Surely the people are grass, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God shall endure forevermore. In the book of Tehillim, the book of Psalms, Kerachem av al banim richem Adonai al yireav, ki hu yada ritzreinu, yatsur ki afar anachnu, enosh ki chatzir yamav, ketzitz hasadeh ki natzitz, ki ruach advarbo ve'inenu, velo yakirenu od mekomo, v'chesed Adonai me'olam bi'ad olam al yireav, tender as parents are with their children, the Lord is merciful with his worshipers. He knows that we are fashioned with dust. The days of human beings are as grass or as dust. We flourish as flowers in the field, and the wind passes over and is gone, and no one can recognize from where it grew. But the Lord's compassion for his worshipers, his righteousness to children's children remain age after age unchanging. And once again from the book of Yeshayahu, from Isaiah, Al tira ki imchani, al tishta ki ani Elohecha, himatzticha af azarticha, af tamachticha b'min sidki. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will sustain you through my power. Family and friends, we gather here together to pay final tribute and bid farewell to the departed soul of Eudice Germaine, Yehudit Yocheved Bat Tzvi Esther, who was called to her final resting place in the world to come. At the age of 80 years, this past Friday, before Shabbos Kodesh, March 8th, the 28th day in the Hebrew month of Adar Rishon. I feel privileged and I feel blessed to have spent some time, what is often referred to as quality time, and I would call it really meaningful, memorable time with Eudice for holidays and occasional Shabbat meals. Eudice was an exceptional individual, one you do not forget after first meeting her, and someone who made an immediate and deep impression after that initial contact with her. She was outspoken, opinionated, determined, persistent, and resolute in all she held important, sacred, and to which she was profusely devoted. She was fiercely loyal and committed to her family members, and never failed to make the love and well-being of her family as her number one priority of and in her life. This came through in every and any encounter with Eudice. One could only admire and respect that manner in which she raised the value and the significance of family to her highest concern at all times. Her unwavering commitment to her Yiddishkeit was equally apparent, and something that was not only deep in Eudice's heart, but that was the underlying foundation which directed her life and her decision-making at all times and under all circumstances. These are areas of Eudice's life about which we'll hear more from her family members. I believe, as do others, there's nothing as genuine and sincere as hearing recollections from family members at a time like this when we say our final goodbyes. So we'll hear from a number of family members. Eudice will begin first with her son Jordan.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, joining us today. Celebrate the life of my mom, Eudice Germaine. I'm going to try to give you a flavor of my mom from my eyes and my experiences growing up. But before I do, it's important to note that my mom grew up in Brooklyn, New York, something which she was very proud of and impacted her greatly. That Brooklyn that she grew up in was larger than life, filled with extended family, great times, great food, and pickles. As many pickles as you could eat for 5 cents. A nickel for a pickle, as I recall. But the Brooklynite in her that we saw and loved was an upfront, honest, and direct communicator that left no question as to her position on anything or anyone. And as a result, you always knew where she stood. Always. Always. Mom raised us mostly in the New York side of Connecticut in Fairfield. She and my dad both worked. Mom was a bookkeeper for various medical and dental offices, but found her calling in beauty and cosmetology services. She worked in a number of salons as an esthetician, doing facials, nails, makeup lessons, hair removal, before opening her own business in the early 80s. The salon, Skincare by Eudice, was based out of our house, which was a large colonial and had a butler's pantry. That butler's pantry was where she worked. Now, you wouldn't think that a butler's pantry would be the most chic of places to receive spa services, but she really made it look nice. And she had a fairly well-to-do clientele, which included some from the DuPont family and others on the East Coast. That business and my dad's work put us both through college. Not too bad. As we were told, she also found time to give some last-minute skincare and makeup lessons to the nurses at the hospice before she left us. Not surprisingly, she had her makeup kit by her bedside. For vacations back at that time, anyway, Jewish families in the Northeast would flock to the Catskill Mountains for winter and summer holidays. These were large resorts with everything from skiing, swimming, tennis courts, dance lessons. Lots of dance lessons. Never did get that foxtrot down. Mom loved it. We went most years. It was kind of like a cruise, but on land, and you can eat to your heart's content. Show up for dinner and order 3 entrees? No problem. They brought it out. It's kind of obscene, awesome at the same time. Although Mom was big on etiquette most of the time, she was really big on etiquette in the Catskills. This was the place to showcase her well-mannered children and family. No doubt my own kids are still scarred by the thousands of times I told them to hold the fork correctly. All that you can blame on the Catskills. For hobbies, my mother was very talented, all sorts of arts and crafts. The more detail-oriented, the better. From ceramics to sewing to weaving to jewelry making, she could do it all. And she had the equipment too. Kilns, sewing machines, looms, torches, I did say torches, all in the Germaine workshop in Huntley. Her work was sold online as well as many art fairs, including the one that she sponsored at the shul for many years. She enjoyed giving them as gifts as well. She also liked collecting and caring for animals, birds, cats, dogs, lizards, hermit crabs. There's some I've forgotten. All were in scope. But she really loved her birds. In the same house with the butler's pantry, we also had a room which she converted into a bird room. Up to 8 birds lived in our house at various points during my childhood. We still have 2, which are available. Lastly, she was big into cooking. Everyone loved her meatballs, and she loved giving advice on healthy eating. Chocolate ice cream is the best source of calcium. And by the way, Brenda Swartz agrees with me. As for me, Mom was always very supportive of my endeavors, proud of my accomplishments. The decision to transfer to Indiana for school was a big one for me at the time. Had it not been supported, this ceremony, everyone gathered here, really would be quite different. Thankfully it was, and shortly after Robin was born, Mom and David moved from Connecticut to Del Webb and Huntley, where they've been for the last 25 years, happily enjoying their retirement. In the last couple of weeks, Mom had a lot of conversations with the grandkids, and one in particular, she mentioned Robin and Harris, that while she had lots of jobs over the years, her best and favorite was caring for them twice a week when they were babies. Mom made the trek from Huntley to Buffalo Grove every Tuesday and Thursday for about 6 years, caring for them. She loved it, and the kids loved it. It was great. Being local to both our families also allowed us to share many holidays and sing close together. Passover was her favorite, where both her and Robin's birthdays were celebrated, unfortunately with Passover cake. None of that happens without the love and support of her husband of 35 years, David Germaine. David did her best and loved her like no other man could. David, I'm so grateful. You joined our family so many years ago. You've been a father figure to all of us, and the only father-in-law and only grandfather on my mom's side that Cheryl, Robin, and Harris recognize. I know you know this, and we love you. And soon to be happier retirement times for me. I look forward to spending more time together. I hear bridge might be a good use of my time. Maybe you can teach me. In closing, Mom, I love you. You're always there for us and supported us in so many ways. I am I am because of you.
Thank you, Jordan. Words from the heart. Next, we'll call on Eudice's husband of 35 years, David, for your remarks.
Again, thank you all for coming. Eudice and I met 36 years ago. I was re-entering the dating scene after my first wife passed away, coincidentally also by breast cancer. It was at a mixer for Jewish singles in Connecticut, and she was chatting with two other women, and I broke in and asked her if she'd like to dance. She said, sure, and we did. Excuse me a second. Well, we stayed on the dance floor for the rest of the evening, and many nights thereafter. We married 9 months after that. She always said it was because she drove a Jaguar and I only drove a Honda. And I have to admit, that Jag was pretty snazzy. Until I learned that it spent more time in the mechanics, in the repair shop, than on the road. It made the mechanic very wealthy and used up a lot of her savings. But at the time of our marriage, each of our kids, her 2 boys and my 2 girls, were living in pretty much independent lives. Robert was starting law school, but Jordan was still in high school and lived with us until he too entered college and then graduated and moved away. And each of those boys found the perfect mates. And they raised exceptional children. And those grandchildren became the focus of Eudice's life after we moved to Chicagoland. After we moved, they were infants when we moved here, and yes, she drove those 40 miles to Buffalo Grove 2 times a week, sometimes 3, to babysit so their parents could work. And those infants are now grown and embarking on their own careers, but the love between them all was on full display during the past 2 weeks when Eudice was in hospice. They surrounded her and shared memories with her. They set up her iPad with the capability to FaceTime and for Eudice to record voice letters to each of them. My wife Eudice had too many interests, careers, hobbies, and activities to enumerate. But one of the things she liked best, and I liked least, was her love of Amazon Prime. Not the movie site, the shipping site. The promise of free shipping motivated her to buy and buy and buy more. She would love to search Amazon.com, comparing prices, reading reviews, choosing just the right model from just the right manufacturer. I still have black and brown boxes that haven't been opened yet in the house. Well, I don't know what they have in heaven, but I hope there is some version of add to cart that would make her very happy. Now we will hear from her firstborn grandchild, Ariel.
My grandma Eudice was an honest woman with a good heart. Her delivery was often abrupt and unsolicited, but her intentions were good. She was always calling us to warn us of the dangers she saw flashing across her TV screen. I think she saw her role as the family protector, the information scout, always on the lookout for threats to her family's health and safety, and of course, any new Holocaust documentaries or articles for us to refresh our collective trauma for fun. My grandma loved beautiful things. She collected beautiful jewelry, clothes, objects, birds, cats, dogs, you name it. She sought out pets for their beauty over their companionship. She appreciated beautiful things so thoroughly that she often bought the tools and equipment necessary to produce the objects of her desire herself, filling her home with art supplies, fabrics, yarns, sewing machines, kilns, and more. She dedicated her life to producing beautiful things and enjoyed sharing that passion with the grandkids. We would stay over at her house in rooms crowded with crafting supplies and attend grandma camp. She would spend hours at the kitchen table with us, teaching us a new craft. She taught us how to knit, how to use a sewing machine, how to felt, set a table, make socks, make jewelry, and apply makeup. Every time I apply my makeup, I recall her makeup lessons. She always came to the house bearing gifts she had made or bought, objects she thought were beautiful and wanted us to have and appreciate. Her strongest love language was definitely gift-giving. If you complimented an object in her home, she would run, grab a Post-it note, write your name on it, and stick it to the back. It was yours in the will. I hope that we learn from my grandma Eudice to hold our family close, challenge ourselves to learn new skills, and appreciate the beautiful things in this world. I'm really going to miss her.
Now I feel bad about what I wrote. No. So where to begin? I will begin with the fact that despite a tremendous amount of pain medication, my very strong-willed mother died at the precise moment she wanted to, very intentionally. A series of events led to it, but at some point during the hospice, she learned that Jordan was having a retirement party on Thursday night. So she said, well, then I'm not going to die till Friday. And so she did not die till Friday. She waited until Jordan got there so he could say goodbye. And she died right before Shabbos, so that I was on my way out the door, and I would immediately be with my B'nai Shalom family and my rabbi to help me. And I don't know how she managed that, but she pulled that off. So you may have seen when they were putting her in the ground, that they cover the grave. There's a cement thing underneath and then a cement thing on top, and that's Illinois law. Jews prefer connection with the dirt, and she told me we've been doing a lot of talking about the end of days. Her grandfather predicted that the world would end, I think, just a couple of years ago. She cut him some slack, and she says it's coming any moment. And so she's been going online and looking in things, and one of the things she learned was that when the end of days comes, that everyone who's buried has to tunnel through the earth and show up at the Mount of Olives in Jerusalem. And she asked me how she's going to do that with the concrete on the bottom and the concrete on top. And I said, I am not worried about you figuring this out. Because if there's anyone who is going to figure out how to get out of a concrete box and dig through the ground, it is my mother. All right, so I'm gonna hit some points in here. Jordan was nice enough to send me what he wrote in advance, and Ariel did too. David, that was great. So I'm trying not to overlap, and I want to hit some points that I think she would have wanted. And since she paid me for me to go to talking school, I will hit those points. One interesting thing about dying right before Shabbos is that the Maharal in his writings talks about the world to come as a day that is all Shabbos, Yom Shekulo Shabbat. So connecting the world to come. The end of the days that my mother was focused on was Shabbos, and so for her, going into Shabbos is her way to get into the world to come. I mentioned the Maharal for two reasons, really. One is this: first, the Maharal was the teacher of our relative, Rabbi Yom Tov Lippenheller, the Tosfot Yom Tov. And she was very, very proud of our lineage. He was 1500s, 1600s. All right, I'm getting a nod. That's good. He was a descendant of Rashi, so that gets us back to the 11th century, late 11th century. Rashi was supposedly a descendant of King David, so that gets us all back, and also explains my Messiah complex. All right, so lineage important. And when we lived in Connecticut and in New York, we used to go. The extended Agus family got together for the Yom Tov Seder. We would sit and read. So surprisingly, there was anti-Semitism even in the 1600s. And when he was chief rabbi of Prague, someone told the local authorities that he was saying bad things about Christianity. So they arrested him in the middle of the night, and they put him on trial. And because he had also gone to law talking school, he talked his way out of the death penalty. But they said, we found you innocent, but you got to pay a huge fine anyway, and you have to leave Prague. So we would gather together, the family got together. Many family members, a big family, got out of Swislak, Poland, before Szyszlowitz, a lot of consonants, before the Holocaust, and we all got together every year, and it was really nice connecting with everybody. And I think a lot of them are on the link with us today. All right, so lineage, very important. The world to come, very important for her. And when we were watching the news together Friday morning, I watched a series of events unfold, and I said, well, it turns out you're right, the end of days is coming, because we saw the story about measles coming back to Chicago. Nice job. And that was immediately followed by the United airplane that dropped a wheel from the sky. And so I told her she was right. To my mother, being right was a very, very important thing for her. And our friend Drew is here somewhere. We had Drew had a trial, a Walmart trial, where we had to deal with this document where our clients had said it's better to be rich than to be right. and we had a lot of explaining to do, and the explanation was that it doesn't mean rich in money. You can be rich in many other things, in family, etc. And I was talking with my Aunt Helen, one of my mother's sisters. She has an older sister, Helen, and a younger sister, Terry, and I send my condolences to you as well. And I was talking with my Aunt Helen, and she mentioned to me, coincidentally, although there are no coincidences, that someone came to the nursing home selling things, and she bought a hat that said rich on it. And some people said to her, "How dare you wear a hat that says rich? Why would you do that?" And she explained to them, she told me, that rich doesn't mean money. Rich is, I have my children and my grandchildren, and I'm very rich that way, and I want to wear the hat. And I said, "Ooh, that's good. I'll mention that." Okay, so going back to Mom, but for Mom, she wanted to be right and didn't care about the rich part. And if she was right, or she thought she was right, but she was right enough that it was problematic. So most of the time she was right. If she was right, she would share that with you, and let you know her view, not out of a sense of ego, but out of a sense of being helpful. That person doesn't know they're doing something wrong. I'm going to tell them so they could fix it, because why would they want to do something wrong? That is unacceptable. What, you think they want to look pale? They don't want to look pale. So she would help them. All right. So we've given you some stories. I think to put a character in your mind, on Everybody Loves Raymond, Marie Barone is so close to my mother that I once had a dream that I was on a cruise, and I met Doris Roberts, and I went up to her and I said, you do a fantastic job, because you're so much like my mother, it's unbelievable. And she said, "Oh, I studied your mother." I met her, I followed her around for 6 months, and that's how, and I woke up going, wow. Okay. But unlike Marie, my mother had a gift for marrying kind, gentle people. And I'm very happy that among the traits that both Jordan and I inherited from our mother, that we married kind, gentle people as well. Hi, David. Okay, so now we're going to move to, my mother and I were in the middle of studying the book of Exodus together. We would have a call. Most days, we would spend a little time together on the phone. I would read the Hebrew, she would read the English. I would read the Rashi, so we got our great-great-great-grandpa involved. And we were in the middle of Exodus when we had to stop studying because she went into the hospital. And the Torah reading, when Jordan and I and David convinced her that she needed to go into hospice, which was a fascinating conversation, was Tetzaveh, which was very appropriate, because in Tetzaveh you have this sentence: V'yata tedabero kol chachmei lev asher meletiv ruach chochma ve'asu et bigdei Aaron. And so Moshe is directed to speak to all of the wise-hearted people who are instilled with the wisdom, or still with a particular type of wisdom, and they would make the articles of clothing for the Kohanim. And throughout the Torah, artists, the creative people, or certain creative people, are referred to as wise-hearted people. And that certainly was true with my mother. The wise-hearted people, they think from the heart. That's how artists work. And my mother was motivated by love in everything she did. No matter how harsh it came across, everything you knew came from a place of love. And the wise part of it is that you're gifted, these people are gifted with an understanding that when they're being creative, they're doing so for a purpose. And the fact that they're doing it for a purpose is what brings it its holiness. So it's not just someone being creative for the sake of making something pretty, it's someone creating something with thought and wisdom to do something lovely. And I think among the best examples of that are the taluses that she wove for David and for Jordan and for me. You get one, Harris? Harris. Which she taught herself how to weave. David built looms. And for a while their house was a little loom fest. And she taught herself how to tie tzitzit, and she went all the way with it, and it was very, very important to her. I'm now going to show you. I've got a prop. So we had a dinner for Rabbi and Robin, and she said, "All right, I'm making the centerpieces. So I'm going to make ceramic plates. I'm going to paint on them with gold leaf." And she was working in glass at the time, so she was going to have a piece of glass that she made, and it was all going to be incorporated in the table. And so we started out, the first 12 tables were easy. We figured she'd do the 12 tribes. She did research to see which stone was on the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, had a what do you call it? Breastplate. Good, thank you. See how nice? Had a breastplate that each stone was a different color corresponding to, and she figured that out, made plates for those. But then Rabbi Robin had so many friends, she needed to make more plates. I don't know what we put on the other plates, but at some point I said, all right, there's a Woody Allen play where all of the characters are Greek diseases. And so, how's it going, syphilis, and okay, herpes. And I said, all right, can you make me a plate that says tonsillitis? So in gold leaf, in Hebrew, she wrote out tonsillitis. She made a piece of glass that has, for the people on the Zoom, it has red on either side, because your throat would get red on either side, right? And then she made flames in gold to show the pain that you would be suffering from the tonsillitis. And I don't know that my mother's sense of humor would come across to you when you met her the first time, or the 100th time, but she really she appreciated humor, and she was willing to go a long way to do something because she knew it would make me happy. And she signed it, and I didn't notice this till I got the plate out because I wanted to use it as a prop. She didn't sign it just Eudice. She signed it Eudice Ma, as if I would forget she was my mother. Or she's a Chinese woman, and I had no idea she was Chinese. But I think what she was telling me by adding Ma was that this is crazy. I understand you're crazy, and my boss Bruce is nodding, right? But I love you, and I'm going to do this for you. Here you go. And so we had this at the dinner. I don't remember what the other ones were, but I know there were more than 13 tables. So, okay. So now we've done that. I carry the 3. Okay. So after I got home from the Dershowitz house Friday night, and Sandy and I were sitting down for Shabbos, and we opened up the Bencher. We were going to read Eshet Chayil. What page, Taya? and it's the reading, and Drew, they did this at Michael's mom's funeral. It's the Woman of Valor prayer, and there's a big tie-in between Shabbos and the female side of the universe. and I said, all right, well, let's go through here and see what connects. And immediately came on, and this is like it's almost too easy, but life doesn't always have to be hard. So came across the most apt sentence, which is Darshet Semer Fishtin Vitas Bechefetz Kapeha. She seeks out wool and flax and purposefully does the desired work of her hands. So the key word in this sentence is chayfetz, happens to be our last name. And so it's literally true that she goes out with wool and flax and purposefully does things with her hands. But even better, figuratively, and literal and figurative are different things. But figuratively, right, if you asked her, what is it that she would point to as the most important work she's done, the most purposeful, the most desired work, and she would say it's the work that she's done for the chayfitzes, the work she's done to make her children the people they are today, the work she's done for her grandchildren. And I know this is sounding a lot like Mr. Holland's opus, and I guess that's appropriate because we're tonight are the Oscars. Which then gets me to the Oscar part, and we're wrapping up. Last page, good. Okay, so we got the thank yous. So I'd like to thank the rabbi for everything you've done, both here today and answering my questions when we were dealing with the hospice and the hospital. Chicago Mitzvah Campaign. So when we were Jordan, David, and I were in the hospital, the hospice people come in to tell you what it's going to be like and what they're going to do. My mother asked if there's going to be kosher food, and the woman looked her in the eye and said, yes, kosher food at the hospice. Got to the hospice, they said, we don't have kosher food. I don't know why she told you that. So the rabbi pointed us, and Robin went online and independently found to Chicago Mitzvah Campaign, and that's the organization that actually we've said that donations can be made to in my mother's memory. They sent a rabbi out from Elgin with a bag of kosher food, a series of meals to take through Shabbos. He didn't know us from anywhere. Jordan called me Friday morning and said, I do not believe it, which I think it was figurative rather than literal. I don't believe it. These people Robin called them last night at 8 o'clock. I got a call at 7 in the morning and said, you're covered, don't worry about it. And they delivered. And the last 3 weeks have been very challenging, where we've been meeting lots of people who didn't deliver anything that they said they were going to do. Everything was harder than it should have been, but that was remarkable. Okay, I'd like to thank our consulting experts, Dr. Jay Akano, the only doctor who would actually answer a question that I asked them, Cindy Goldberg, who gave me advice on how to transfer someone from a hospice to a nursing home, because the hospice decided earlier in this week that my mother wasn't dying fast enough for them, and so we spent 3 days arguing with them, trying to keep her where she was until eventually she convinced them that she wasn't ready to leave. I'd like to thank Dave Lesht for his chemistry consult when we were looking at drug interactions at the hospital. Okay, I'd like to thank all our friends and family who checked in with us while all this was going on, everyone joining us today in person and on the interweb, and friends and family who will be helping us during Shiva Week. And Sandy and Cheryl have been getting calls, and thank you so much for everybody doing that. I'd like to thank our B'nai Shalom family for everything you've done and for everything you will continue to do. And I always forget to thank Sandy. And so why should today be any different? No. I want to thank Sandy and Cheryl, and I actually did thank Sandy and Cheryl Friday night when they came over and we had dessert together. I think I said at the time, and I think I said so on Everybody Loves Raymond. I'd like to think that Deborah would have gone to the hospital and to the hospice as much as the two of you did for Marie. I don't know if she would have done, But we really appreciate it. I mean, it was everybody was can-do, and that was really, really nice. Okay, Mom, I want to thank you for stressing the importance of education, both secular and religious, the sacrifices you made for that education, teaching me to appreciate beauty in all of its forms, sharing your love of holidays, inviting my friends to participate with us in them, everything you've done to support me, pushing me to go to law school with your loving words, "You have a big mouth, you should do something with it." And thank you most of all for bringing David into our lives. Okay, and as with Jordan, I liked his ending, so no one is more responsible for making me who I am than you. I love you. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rob, Jordan, David, Ariel. Good gesagt. You all painted a picture. The picture is something that if you spent even 20 seconds with Eudice, it was borne out by everything you all brought to the surface. And thank you. She was bigger than life, truly bigger than life, and unforgettable. There's no doubt the memorable and inspirational life of Eudice Germaine, Yehudit, Yocheved, Bat Tzvi, Esther will long be spoken about. Love, reverence, much admiration and appreciation. We ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Almighty God, send a measure of comfort and healing to Eudice's family members and friends gathered here. Loving husband of 35 years, David, to beloved children, Rob and Sandy, the late Sherry Lynn, Jordan and Cheryl, her cherished grandchildren, Ariel and Josh, Robin, Talia, Harris, and Ezra, to her loving siblings, Helen, her husband Jay and Terry, other loving family members and friends, all those who knew and loved Eudice, and whose lives were touched and truly made better by her. We say in the Hebrew, Tehei Nishmasa Tzuror B'Tzor Achayim. May her dear departed soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. And together we say, Amen. Before I offer the Mizmor LeDavid, the 23rd Psalm, a quick point. And Rob, we spoke about this briefly yesterday. This is a Hebrew leap year, an extra month, 13 months in this year. Eudice left this world to go to the next on the 28th day of Adar Rishon, on the first of the two Adar months. Your sister, Alaa Shalom, left this world on the 27th of Adar Bet. In a normal year, those are consecutive. Your sister, she rest in peace, your mother, Alaa Shalom. And I think we talk about coincidence. Well, everything actually is coincidence. So that is a thing that happens together. It's not necessarily random or meaningless. And there is something to that your mom and your sister be together. And I can't imagine for anybody who ever, God forbid, Shtagadak loses a child, I don't think there's ever total nechama. I don't think there's any real comfort. You're never complete once again. But they're together. I think there's something to that. And much nechama to the whole family. 23rd Psalm. The 23rd Psalm is the Mizmor LeDavid. Once again, the Hebrew followed by the English. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai roi lo echzor, Binos tesheyar bitzeni, Almeinu chosin aleini. Nafshi yeshovev, Nafshi yeshovev, Yancheni b'maglet tzedek, Oy leman shemo, Gam ki elech, gates amoves lo yara ki ata imadi shivtecha umishantecha shivtecha umishantecha hena yenachamuni taroch lefanai shulchan taroch lefanai shulchan taroch lefanai shulchan neged tzorerai Dishan tov Hashem en roshi Dishan tov Hashem en roshi Dishan tov Hashem en roshi Kol sirelaya Ach tov chesed Yirdefuni kol yemei chayon V'shavti beveis Adonai V'shavti beveis Hashem Yorech Yami. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me in paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. If I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod comfort me. You set a table in the sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forevermore. It's been said many times in many ways that Eudice was bigger than life and made an impression immediately and indelibly. And it seems to me that the notion and the sentiment that you intend to fill in the kever biyad completely by hand is an appropriate tribute. One can never pay back a parent. It's just not possible for what the parent pours into the person. But you do your best to show those signs, those symbols that we appreciate it. And so the family has respectfully asked that to the best of everyone's effort, as you participate, that the kever, the grave will be filled in completely by hand, so the machinery is not necessary, and it's done with one's heart, one's effort, one's personal neshama, one's soul. You're going to be called forward as family, as friends, and you'll notice that there'll be a couple shovels by the mound of earth. If it is easier for you to use the pails, those are available as well. At any one time, 4 people or as many shovels as are available can be shoveling earth. There's no disrespect intended, certainly none connoted. And I would ask you, and you may know the tradition already, not to give the shovel to the next person. The tradition is that this is an act of kindness, the highest form of kindness, and everyone participating will want to be credited from start to finish with having participated with this act of kindness. And so we ask you to put the shovel either back in the mound of earth on the ground, or if you're using the pail, back in the pail. When it has been completely concluded, we'll finish the service with Kaddish. This time, family members come forward, followed by friends, and there is no set number of shovelfuls, no minimum, no maximum, and you can be putting in, at the same time, several different people putting in their shovelfuls of earth.
Friends, at the conclusion of our service here at the graveside, we will be davening the mental service for those who want to honor the family with that first opportunity for the minion. The family will be sitting Shiva this evening at Congregation B'nai Shalom starting at 7 p.m. Memorial contributions in Eudice's memory can be made, as was mentioned, to the Chicago Mitzvah campaign. That information is available on the folders. You receive them for those who are watching the service on the live stream. That information is on the funeral home website.
lost the hour today, so I didn't change my watch. So now I'm right back on
My
today.
watch okay, says 3 o'clock.
And where did you come from? New York. Oh, okay.
So Beth has gotten me through the last few weeks with her jokes. She brought so many.
Teasing,
Well, I
a lot of
know
teasing.
that you're much better at Loader than your earthling because he sends me your scores. And I
She always outscores me.
yeah. Oh, he keeps,
But his Squirtle is sad.
Yeah, but we had a lot of conversations about what's going on in hospice and hospitals.
Oh, you're nurse.
During care, but it was during
Well, thank you for all the help.
It's my great faith and I've heard that. So when I have questions, it doesn't improve my bridge.
Does he charge?
She attends a lot of my classes.
Well, high grade of
But then you're yelping.
She was a bridge student.
I tried. I tried for a little while. I got to the point where I understood the basics of it.
And the blues were
No, it was hard. It was during the day. Like, it's hard period.
Yeah, it's hard period, so like I couldn't really do the personal tour.
But all of my friends at Sun City are bridge players. I mean, that's it. That's the extent of mine.
That Mary here was from Bridge Club.
Flip it. Flip it one more time. Flip it on. Friends, if I have your attention for a moment, we had a register book out before the service. I know not everybody had a chance to sign in. If anybody wants, we'll put the register book right back out over here. And anybody who wants to sign in may do so right now.
so that you're informed as to the routine and the goings on. More dirt, as you can see, is needed in order to fulfill what the concept, the theory of suras hakever, that it appear like a dignified, proper grave site. So more dirt is being brought at this time to complete the filling in of the grave. We will say Kaddish at that point, and as the funeral director Yehuda has already mentioned, for anyone who can remain and help to make a minyan. The first of the minyanim is going to be here and now at the grave site. But in order of things, A, fill in the grave, which we'll do when the additional earth is brought. B, say Kaddish at the kever. And C, then recite mincha here.
And just another reminder, if anybody has yet to sign the register book, it is over by the canopy. I will be putting it away shortly.
once live stream. Okay. Yeah. How do you live stream? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Don't need the cameras or anything. Yeah. That's a battery pack? Yeah. So you don't run out. What about the other one? Yeah. Yeah, oh, you don't have a place. Don't the new ones have the same, not as an Apple, but C or USB-C? Right. I know what they use. That's so you always had to buy an Apple. What? Yep. It's simpler than having a movie. This is amazing.
right? But I did it too soon. Because now we're adding to it. Yeah. That's the way you gotta do it. I don't know if that's... Rabbi, are we good here with this? Now just do it? This extra, do we have to put all the rest?
Yeah, no, this is fine. Yeah, this makes something of a...
Yeah, I got a border.
But in terms of the amount, no, this is good. This is
Okay,
fine. So
so let's
border
take some of
around.
this. No, Roger, take it off. This is still grass here. You gotta make that definitive edge here. So here, just try and pile as much of this in the top.
Higher in the middle, lower on the sides with a defined border around. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, but you can move that. Right there.
For family and friends, one more word of explanation. So long as the family has decided to fill in the grave by yad, meaning using individual family members, friends' efforts, what's being now is to form what's called tzura sekever, the highest, most reverent, and most dignified showing of the grave, so that there is a sign that is a recognizable grave, higher in the middle, lower on the sides, with a defined border along the sides, which they're doing now. There is always acceptable, which would have been to do less. This is the preferred, the highest form of honor, respect, and dignity being offered to Eudice. Rob, Carl, you, and Jordan. Okay, is David here?
Yeah, David's sitting.
Okay. We're going to conclude with Kaddish. I'll mention that for a couple of you who obviously know, you've asked about Kaddish and Chanukah. Being Rosh Chodesh, we defer to the regular Kaddish Yatom. I will also mention for anybody who's obligated for Kaddish, besides family members right now, there is no Isur, there's no prohibition on joining in Kaddish. So anyone who's otherwise obligated for Shloshim, for Avelus, for Yortzeit, it is permitted, there's no disrespect there. Kaddish, ready? Yiskadal, Yiskadash, Amen. Yomad, Yivrach, Yirsei, Yamlich, Machasei, Chayechon, Yomechon, Chaye, L'chol Beis Yisrael, Ha'agalah, V'zman Karev, Yibru, Amen. Yishtei Rabba, Borach, Le'olam, Le'olam, Yisparach, Yishtabach, Yisbohar, Yisrolam, Yisnaseh, Yisradar, Yisalev, Yisrael, Shmei, Yushav, Rehu, La'elam, Yitmol, Berachasa, V'shirasa, Tush B'chasa, Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba Mishmaya, Chayim Aleinu, Kol Yisrael, Yibru, Amen. Moseh Shalom, Yimah, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Kol Yisrael, Yibru, Amen. Much nechama to family and friends. We're going to commence immediately with Mincha. It is clear to me, without being a genius, the sun is there, that's the west, will face east. Anyone who can participate. And in case you are wondering, in terms of a shura, having nothing to do with Rosh Chodesh, we will not be forming a shura. So if you are not participating in Mincha, this will be the time to return to your cars. If you are participating in Mincha, afterwards to return to your cars, a shura will not be formed.